I feel like if we start the episode by laughing, it like brings it in with more energy.
We didn't even laugh though.
I know, let's try it.
We were both silent.
Let's try it. And we're back. Ask me. Ask Iliza anything. It's time to ask. Ask me all your questions. I just imagine people tune in and you want to, it's like merging. Like if you start, then it's easier to merge versus if you just slam your foot on the gas. It's kind of jarring. So if people, and we're just talking about The Bachelor.
Right.
You know, then people are like, yeah, I can get caught up versus like starting from an ice cold place.
I'm always very curious if somebody just stumbles on this and they start listening. They're just like, what's happening here?
Can I tell you, as someone who I'll give other podcasts a try, I'm like, I need something to fall asleep to. Usually when you listen into a stranger's conversation, just like out in the world, people always sound dumb. Like you could be talking about nuclear physics. And if you're like, yeah, and you know, when those particles get together, you're like, oh, boring. There is something about being an outsider listening in, but the bulk of podcasts, and when you say the bulk of podcasts, it's like in this, like ours, like it's me and my friend, like two like non-experts, but like weighing in. I do think our podcast has, oh my God.
Our podcast.
I think we have a nice format and a nice chemistry versus like, it's me and my friends and they stop by and we talk about whatever. This is a fart cast. When you listen in, it's usually a lot of like equivocating before the point. Like especially weirdly like Radio Lab type podcasts. I feel like I've talked about this before. You'll tune in and it will be like this. And, you know, this is not to say, I mean, not that I would. I mean, of course, if I could, but it's a sort of evergreen notion, you know, and you're like, what are you talking about?
Right. Get to the point.
If you're going to have a podcast and you're going to be funny, we're going to need a punchline every few seconds. And if you're going to have an informative one, we're going to need those cold, hard facts.
Yeah. I think most podcasts could be shorter.
I mean, I would, and it's always chuckling at yourself, I would tend to agree, not that I'm in the sport or business of agreeing, although that would be a lucrative endeavor.
You're at an advantage, I think, as a performer. I will say when I edit my podcast and I hear myself laughing at my own, I like cut, I will hear myself doing that and go, ew, and just like cut it out. But it is
a survival skill to be a little bit grossed out about yourself.
Yeah.
Versus wanting to hear yourself talk, pontificate. I mean, would that I were, but I'm not. Also, today's episode brought to you by our friends at Milk Toast.
You do genuinely like listening to this podcast, though.
I listen to our podcast to make sure that, because you and I talk over one another, so I try to mitigate that. Like, I do listen to it for quality assurance. I'm not listening to it like, wow, I was so funny. I'll listen again.
The episode that comes out next, I was just listening to upload it. And it's funny because there was something I know I like whispered to myself while you were talking. And Scott scooched the audio so you could hear what I said and then you talked. So Scott fixes a lot of that.
You're such a fucking bitch. Was it that?
Can you imagine if you found out whenever you go listen, I've just left little secret horrible. No, I think
I've done that.
I in a podcast.
To you.
To me. I listen to this podcast 4 times by the time it goes out.
I know. Emily's a monster. Emily's a monster.
As far as insults go, I'm okay with that.
I don't really have any real insults for you. I mean, I think I do say I hate you. I think I've said it like 4 times, which is 4 times too many for a friend. But I remember when it's your birthday, in January.
How often do you? Nobody, unless you're a teen mad at your parents, somebody you hate, you don't tell them I hate you ever.
That's true.
That's so toothless to say to someone. Like if I went up to my enemy, I hate you. Okay.
I hate you. Just
what does that mean?
And I will fuck you at the end of this episode. I was in my mind, it was TV and you were a boy and we were in a law firm.
Oh, we're not getting along. And then, yeah.
In my mind, it was TV.
It was Suits. It was TV at a law firm.
And then I accidentally described Suits, which was cast by my friend and old neighbor, Bonnie Zane. Not old neighbor I used to have. We are not the same age.
I love Bonnie.
I love Bonnie. And I love our questions. And I love our cozy coffee corner.
Shout out to all the people that don't listen to this podcast and know Iliza. If I had a friend that had a podcast, I would absolutely listen and be like, what are they talking about? What do they got going on over there?
Almost all my friends have podcasts, and I definitely do not listen because I know a lot of comics. It's enough.
Yeah, okay, they're right. They all are comics, so you don't need that.
I think we've reached a point in podcastery where people are dedicated fans versus dabblers because there's so many. So like how do you want to spend your free Audible time? Yeah, I listen to John McWhorter at night when I'm by myself if I'm like washing my face, trying to retain all of his information.
That is your number one way that you measure time, that you measure space. Oh, people watch this while washing their face. Oh, they could listen to this while washing their face. How many times a day are you washing your face? 10?
One, but it's like a chunk of time. And women who are busy understand, like sometimes it's just like your 10 minutes. It's just like your time. You're like, I just need a minute to kind of like decompress, do all of your ablutions. And if you're a mom too, like my daughter will come in. It's not like, I can't take a shit alone. But it is like maybe the kids are taking a bath or something and you just get that time to like layer on, or they've gone to bed, layer on your products. You don't need any company. And you want a little bit of company. Just something. Or I do it in total silence like a serial killer.
Oh, like Patrick Bateman. Yeah.
Yeah. I also drive long distances without anything on in the car.
Whoa.
I do.
Yikes.
I don't need it. I've heard every song. We're good.
You've heard every song. Okay.
I went on Nick Vial's.
Oh.
Nick Vial's Files. It's a very young vibe there, but it was very nice. And they brought up that Chapel Rowan, I guess, look, I don't have the source material for this, but had like gone off on a very, to be honest, young girl Gen Z rant about how all people with kids are miserable. And as someone who has children and isn't miserable, I wasn't even angry because I was just like, who fucking cares what you think?
Right. That's really, at the end of the day, like, the only people who I think would be truly mad are people who are miserable and they're pissed about it.
Why do I need to
Otherwise, who
convince
cares?
some like 23-year-old girl that I'm happy? That makes you sound unhappy. Like, okay, I'm having a great time. I don't know.
In the same vein, it's like, why would you want to convince someone who doesn't want kids to have kids? Do you really want that person as a parent? That's so stupid to me.
I said this on his podcast. I don't think it's about convincing people. I think it's about both sides, and it's only on the female side being told that what they've done is wrong. So when you don't have kids, you're always having to explain why you don't to those that do, that don't understand you. And when you do have kids, society is mad at you for bringing your kids on an airplane. And so either way, what it comes down to is women having to defend the choice that was right for them. And rather than just hold firm in that, we just tend to get mad at other women. But I don't have the capacity nor desire to care about the choices you make for yourself. You don't want kids? Okay. You do? Okay. I don't have a feeling about it one way or the other.
I'm going to start asking 50-year-old men why they don't have kids.
That's hilarious.
Can you? The idea of going to a party and there's just a guy and I'm like, so you didn't want to have kids?
So no one wanted your sperm. They thought it'd be weird. Is that when it went? That's fine. You know what? Because of course we all know we don't like ask men like, how do you balance it all? Like no one's asking a dad that. They're like, my wife does it. And I'm a degenerate.
All right. Makes the calendar. All right. We'll do a question. Our question asker says, before my question, I must shout out to Iliza's pup. She is gorgeous and reminds me of my mom's, Fluffy Sawyer. We miss him. So my question.
We miss you, Sawyer. Come back.
Yes.
Where's the dog?
I think he's dead and he can't come back.
Should I hold her up for those? I feel like for someone who has a video component to this podcast, I rarely show the dog.
All right, pick her up. Oh, hello.
Listening at home, it's like holding up a furry beluga whale because she kind of has a puffy forehead. What's in your fur? What is this? Piece of cereal? What is that?
Beast. That you can blame on the kids.
Darn beast. Beastie Ann. Okay.
I do love her.
Yeah, she's great.
All right.
So romantic.
So my question.
Romantic.
I am 51. At my age, one would assume that I've had a boyfriend, been on a date, had sex. No to all of those, sadly. The only time I was even kissed was when I was 15. And the opportunity to have sex arose, but I was not ready. I should have been ready. It should be pointed out this was not a date. The only reason this boy kissed me was because I was the only drunken option available. Since then, nothing. It should be explained that I am hideously ugly and enormously huge, although I recently lost 136 pounds and still going. I'm not Godzilla huge, but it is not pretty, especially now that I look like a melted marshmallow. I've pretty much given up on ever experiencing sex. Heck, even a basic kiss. I wouldn't even know where to look. I've never been into the bar scene because of extreme anxiety. I prefer the library and movie theater. I'm a college student again, yes, at my age, but the men there are still in their teens. I also live in a Midwest state with a population 100 and a lot of ignorance. I do have attributes I used to want in a man, but I'm desperate. Well, no, I've given up. I've heard you tell others to use dating apps. One, look at my photo, although I haven't allowed myself to be photographed at least 10 years, and they will run. I've had a good life, but I'm missing out on one of the better parts. I know that. I am tired of missing out. Help.
Looks are not the reason that people have sex with someone or get into a relationship. You are admittedly ugly.
Yeah.
Plenty of people are ugly with boyfriends and girlfriends. Plenty of people are morbidly obese with boyfriends and girlfriends. Every woman on My 600-Pound Life has a boyfriend. This comes down to you, and you need to talk to a therapist, because I don't think we've ever had on the podcast someone outright just be like, here is why I'm awful. Here's why I'm good, but I'm disgusting and I'm ready. Something happened, because are we not accounting for, 15 through 30? Were you always morbidly obese and you lived in a small town and there was only a couple people to pick from? Were you sexually assaulted? You're drunk at 15. Plenty of people in small towns, that's a thing. Did something happen that turned you off to this? What about your other experiences in life? I think you need to speak to a therapist, because this is something that I'm not qualified to get into. Let's say you were always morbidly obese and very unattractive, and you were always around the same people, so they'd written you off, and you kind of got a sour taste for all of this. There's always like polyamory groups. And before you're out there and you're like, hey, I'm polyamorous, I'm just saying, like, there are groups that are more open-minded about sexual experiences. There are overweight groups out there. There are different types of clubs and things you can belong to where everyone's not a model. And so I think it's about getting online and finding your people.
Yeah, there are a few things going on here. I mean, I will say, number one, clearly there is a self-defeatist attitude, which I can't blame you for. You sound you're like very upfront, which I respect, but I feel like when you say these things about yourself,
yeah,
you're not advocating for yourself. So someone else is like, well, I guess she is Godzilla because you're saying it about yourself. Now, we had a question. It hasn't come out yet, but at the live show, you'll hear it at some point. We had a question about a guy asking about going to a sex worker because he hasn't had sex in a long time. I wonder if there's an element of like
getting your feet wet,
breaking the seal, like an element of because it's all so built up. And I think the hard thing for you right now, you're saying, oh, I wish that I had sex with this boy at 15 when I was drunk. No. But this element of like,
that would have been, you probably would never have sex then.
Right. Like, you've put so much pressure on yourself. And now at 51, that is another like 50-year-old guy is going to be like, that's a big commitment to like be your first potentially. There's a lot you've put into this and your self-worth. And I think, number one, yes, therapist. Number two, it's like you could hook up with someone, they just might not be the hottest.
Also, let's talk about the person who lost the 150 pounds. Who's that person?
136 pounds and still going.
Who's that person that just decided enough is enough? That version of you is the one that you need to let shine a little bit more. That person that was like, something about me, there's something here I want to change. Something is off. I know I can do better. I promise you, personality is 9/10 of the law. I know someone who was pretty overweight, but had such an outgoing, great personality and was actually a very sexual person. And this woman had a lot of sex. And for her, of course, you want to be attracted to someone, but it was about the way these men treated her, and it was about the way that she felt around them, and they were always very kind. The men that she was with, and she definitely sampled the buffet. It was always about having fun, and she was a bigger person. And this person also lost weight. And, you've got skin and you've got all these things, but for some reason that she just never saw herself as like, oh, I'm not worthy. She always was, men were always attracted to her essence.
Yeah.
Like, even as you've described yourself in this, we're kind of like, all right, well, if you're ugly, I don't know. Nobody wants someone who's sad or having a pity party. And look, I love a pity party. I invite myself and I put on a sad party hat. you've got to, if you're even having these feelings that you want to have a sexual experience, you got to put your best foot forward. Even if that foot is ugly, even if you got an ugly hoof, put that hoof forward.
Right. You have to be able to sell yourself. Like you're saying you don't want to go to bars. Totally get it. I'm wondering how you've lost all that weight. Is there some sort of like health club or hiking, something that you do where you could meet people? I know that you're going to have a lot of extra skin and probably need surgery for that. That's like another facet. There's medical issues here, but I feel like you must be feeling, if you've lost 136 pounds and still going, you must be feeling so much better every day. There were probably years of your life where you weren't getting out there because you were tired. You didn't feel well.
There are other men, if that's who you're attracted to, that feel the same way. And there are people out there that are going to do this, that they will find you attractive and or are more attracted to personalities, okay? You're the one calling yourself ugly. We don't know what you look like. Get out there. Mascara is a girl's best friend. It is amazing how ugly we look until we slap on some mascara. Go out, feel good about yourself. And just put yourself out there. Right now, you've not put yourself out there at all, but you're starting to because you lost that weight. So stay on that path. And it's not even about losing more weight. It's about knowing that you deserve better. And don't fucking come after me on this podcast like, but I weigh 400 pounds and I know, and I do deserve better and I'm staying at 400. It's always good if you are heavy to lose weight. Don't get upset with me. It's always better for the body. And you know that because you're doing it. Okay.
Well, and I will say apps are very looks focused first. So if you still are not confident in that department, you will be much better off finding hobby groups and meeting people where they can see that you're cool.
Let's say you go on an app that is focused toward perhaps people that are obese or whatever it is. And
there is an app called for that, I think. It's like Wow or something.
Is it
Can't
called,
be that. Let me
is it
look
called
what it
Hoagies
is.
and Grinders? Let's say you go on that and some guy's swiping
Plus.
through. Okay.
Sorry.
And some guy's swiping through and he sees you smiling. Maybe you're with your favorite pet or you're doing something you like and it shows that you have like a joy for life. He's going to click on that. People want to be around positive energy. And I can't say I'm always the most positive, and you're going to get mad that I made that Hoagies and Grinders joke, but it was really good. I am a comedian. Don't forget. That's my answer.
Right. We're not looking at a photo of this woman and commenting on her weight. We're commenting on what she has told us.
Yeah, I'm not, no one's canceling me. So,
and I do think it's very funny. I'm not Godzilla huge, but it's not pretty, especially now that I look like a melted marshmallow. I mean, she has a way with words.
I mean, honestly, have you seen what Disneyland looks like? Like, have you seen an airport in the South? Like, it's not like you're a freak.
Right. Go to any Walmart.
Just have some confidence, get that haircut, take a shower, put on some mascara, and get a cute top. I think the world really underestimates the power of a cute top.
I think that is the other piece. Figuring out how to dress for your body is a big piece of it.
I think it's more about the face and the attitude. Because at a certain weight, like the body is the body. Like it's not like you're going to have a ton of clothes to pick from, but it's not about that. It's about how you feel. Is it getting your nails done? You know, we carry ourselves differently when we change different parts of our body, even if it's just for us. I carry myself better and more confident in a great designer pair of baggy jeans than I would in like a pair of leggings. So get to a good place with yourself and don't take no for an answer.
Yeah, look at what confidence the most mediocre men have. Help. I'm a 49-year-old woman, married, no kids. I have MS and work part-time occasionally. The worst part of my illness is the fatigue. I have a few friends who will call me often. I'm usually home. And over the past year or so, I've been dreading their calls. They're long-winded, complain a lot, and like to talk for at least an hour. I started feeling drained after our conversations, which are difficult to wrap up. I feel like they treat me as a free therapist. When I have an issue, they're helpful and listen, but I tend to solve a lot of shit on my own in the first place. I've told them I'm tired, I don't have time, I don't enjoy being on the phone anymore, but they keep calling and just seeing their name shows up makes me feel resentful. Ideally, I'd be talking to them once a month, tops. Thanks in advance for your answer. Love to all.
Friendship is a two-way street, and they are calling you. You might be one of those people who is quicker. And if you have MS, then you are kind of staring something really horrible right in the face. And so it would make sense that you can solve a lot of your own shit. Not everybody is gifted with that. And not everybody has an insurmountable hurdle, not to say that you're not dealing with it, that sort of puts everything else in your life into perspective. But if you are calling these people and you are having these conversations, you're telling me that all of your friends are annoying and long-winded. In a weird way, look, I get it. Like, I don't love the small talk, and sometimes I'm just like, who cares? But I guess it's kind of like put yourself in their shoes. If they truly are calling and then I didn't, my foot got stuck, but then it was okay. Then I had a coupon and not. Then maybe you need to reevaluate. But I think there's a frustration with what you're dealing with, which is awful, and probably feeling a little stuck. And I think what you're saying is, I have MS and you are complaining about bullshit. Which, it's fair, but it's also not fair because that's just not what they're dealing with. So I think maybe being upfront with them, if you really don't have it in you to listen at all and you really deem their problems as minor, and just off the bat being like, hey, I'm finding myself just very tired lately. And so I do want to hear from you, but just please don't be offended if I don't get back to you for a little bit. I'm just trying to figure some stuff out. I think you just say that. You don't want to be like, your problems don't matter, because then they're going to be nervous when they talk to you, and then you're not going to have any friends. I also think doing things in person helps. Talking on the phone can be exhausting if it's not the right person. We all put it on speaker and do other things. No one really like holds the phone to their ear anymore. And at 51, you might, but young people don't, because we're all busy multitasking. So maybe try to do it once a month in person, and that might make it more valuable, better time spent.
I do understand. I understand this person saying that they solve their own problems, because I think there are ways that I am there for my friends that I would never ask them to be there for me. Like, if I'm complaining, I'm calling my dad and I'm complaining.
Yeah.
He's stuck at home recovering from his heart surgery. He's stuck there, and I'm like, hey, I got to complain about everything at my job. So I get they think you're like a safe space, but that doesn't, you're a human and you don't want to take on all this, like, what I feel like, Iliza, you've said, like, emotional refuse, or just like, it's just all their crap. They're just talking and talking to talk, and you're just there.
Yeah. So I guess that's my question is it really that, or do you just kind of get annoyed easily? But I would do it in person. That way, when you do it once a month, it is special and you're not exhausted. But if you can't do that, I would just be upfront and be like, I just get very tired, so I'll just connect with you when I can. And then wait till you're bored, or have a long drive, or have like a lot of time alone.
Drives are such a good, when I was driving to Florida, I'm just like calling people like, let's get this done.
Let's get this done. Let's rehash it.
Yeah. How to avoid talking about age plus retinol on hands? Iliza and crew. This is my first time writing in, because usually I think I can filter my petty problems through your comedic lens and move on. But this ask I could really use your unique perspective on. I am turning 40 in 2 months, and having been a part of your 40th birthday trip to Iceland, I decided to start saving over a year ago and have a spectacular birthday planned in the Mediterranean for my husband and I this year, which inspired him to do the same. So we have so much to look forward to. I am so looking forward to being 40 in general, and I'm so grateful for the woman I've become. I also am grateful to have you as big sister and mentor who has made a lifelong commitment to being healthy and hot. Is that your number one?
I'm committed to it.
You're committed. You're in it.
Number one priority is being hot.
The question. I perform in community theater about 4 to 5 shows a year, and most people I am cast with assume I am much younger. I find myself cringing at how often I communicate my age, but feel the need to for several reasons. I have a lot more going on in my life, husband, career. I am generally more serious, and most importantly, I can't automatically do as much of the physical asks like jump splits and other complex choreo, as that is often communicated after I'm cast. Mostly, I just want to get ahead of the assumption that I'm perhaps a haggard 28-year-old, but I don't want to seem like I'm fishing for compliments either. Would love to know how you have navigated the last few years. P.S. Your new special, you briefly mentioned retinol on your hands. How have I been sleeping on this, Chelsea?
I think you're supposed to put it in your hands. I've been doing it. Chelsea, if you're doing musical theater, it's odd. It's weird to me that you would audition for a part and get a part that you
it's
physically
just
couldn't
community theater. So it might not be musical, it might be plays. And then they're like, can you do a split? She's like, no, I'm almost 40. Yeah, but my life is done.
I couldn't do a split in high school.
No, I couldn't either.
So I guess I don't really understand the question.
I think this person is struggling with they're about to turn 40. They're in this space with all these younger people that they want to differentiate themselves from. They're like, I make sure I tell them my age because I'm too old for the nonsense.
Okay.
I think they're kind of sinking into this role of what they think someone who's about to turn 40 should act like.
don't know the question though. I mean, the answer is own it. It's not I'm 40 but, it's I'm 40 and. I'm 40 and I can't do that. I'm 40 and I can do that. It doesn't really matter. You know, I was thinking about this lore and this cultural shock around turning 40. And I think it's less that 40 is this crazy old age where you become weird and different and your life is over. But I do think our bodies, you know, they change every X amount of years. And at 40, things do start to change. And so that's why there's all this chaos around it. But I mean, some women at 52 still get a period, you know?
Brag.
Noah says age is nothing but a number that tells you how old you are. You don't have to subscribe to anything about your age. I can do things at 42 physically that I probably couldn't do well younger because I've been doing Pilates now for a few years. Things are always changing and you are still young enough that you can kind of pick and choose your own adventure. So I don't know. If it's uncomfortable, then just be like, I can't do it. And by the way, perhaps you can't do it, not because of your age, but maybe you just aren't physically conditioned to do a backflip or something like that. But one doesn't have to preclude the other. I can do this turn, but I can't do this jump. Or just don't take the part. But you don't need to set parameters. You don't need to make it because you're 40. You also don't need to be ashamed of it. Like it's whatever. And I'm exploring what it feels like to be 42 and the limits of my body. I actually feel the strongest that I've ever felt, but I do feel it more now when I travel. I feel exhaustion if I do 2 shows. Staying up late is harder. Alcohol doesn't feel the same. And this is just what it is. And don't fight it. I don't go into anything like, oh my God, I hope they think I'm much younger than I am. Like, we're past that as women. It's enough.
Yeah.
You just are what you are and there's good and bad and you don't have to have it limit you or anything like that. You don't have to explain yourself. I can't do it. I can't do a backflip. Sorry, hire a gymnast. It's community theater. Why are we doing this anyway?
Right. Since you mentioned a quote from Noah, do you want to promote How to Cook the Finest Things in the Sea? Just came out.
Oh, you're such a good friend. Noah wrote with Ari Colander, our friend, who has 2 incredible restaurants here in LA. He has Queen Street over there in, I want to say it's Eagle Rock, and Found Oyster over on Fountain near the Scientology Center. Outstanding, hyper local fresh seafood. Ari is from Charleston where they do food right. And Noah and Ari have written Ari's cookbook, How to Cook the Finest Things in the Sea. It is a beautiful book. And I can tell you that I've personally tasted almost everything in there and it's outstanding.
I like that name a lot.
I do too. I love the word finest and it's beautiful. So yeah, if you are a seafood fan or want to be a seafood cook or know how to handle seafood better, this is the book for you. Oh, Swordfish Hemingway. That's the sleeper hit. The Swordfish Hemingway is outstanding. Literal chef's kiss.
What is it? I guess do I have to buy the book and find out?
I don't remember, but I just remember I loved it so much and I didn't think I would.
I had a red snapper when I was in Pensacola and I was like, ooh, branching out from salmon.
Yeah, I love red snapper sushi. If I do sushi, which is not rare, not often. It's rare. The fish is rare.
All right, we're doing a confession. I was flying with my mother from Columbus, Ohio to Reno, Nevada on Southwest. The first flight out, I saved her a seat with my high boarding position against her nearly last boarding position.
Boo, defeats the purpose.
She didn't leave me alone the entire flight. On the second leg of our connection, I took a middle seat between 2 strangers and told her I wasn't able to save her a seat beside me.
You would rather sit in a middle seat on Southwest than sit by your mother. She must be so annoying.
Thankfully, we took separate flights home so I didn't have to lie to her again. That is so funny.
You know, I booed you at first, but I actually think I shouldn't have booed you. I'd been brainwashed actually by like flying etiquette. If you are flying with someone and you have different... Like, you do want to sit by each other. You know what?
Right.
No, I don't know. Like, so what? So you don't, Southwest flights are so short. I guess they should have checked in earlier.
Looking at a middle seat and going, okay, I'll sit here. If I'm in those other 2 seats and you're coming and sit in the middle seat when there's still seats open, it's like, are you a serial killer?
Are you hiding from someone? Here? Are you desperate?
Yeah.
It is interesting.
Incredible. Just like, sorry, Mom.
The way that Southwest differentiates itself. They're like, here's an idea. What if we let them govern themselves?
It's dangerous.
I'm always like A1 or A2. Always. I don't know why or how.
Oh.
Maybe my assistant checks me in early, but I'm getting my choice of seats.
Oh, excuse me.
Sipping on fresh seats.
Hello, AIA crew. I have an ex-boyfriend of about 7 years that has been messaging me on social media about once a year. I've blocked him on Facebook and now he has found me on Instagram. Should I respond and tell him to stop reaching out or block and ignore? His messages are pretty generic, like, hey, how are you? Or hope you're doing good.
Nope.
I met him in my late teens and have since moved on. We did date for about 5 years. Thank you, Michaela.
Nope. If there's some unfinished weird business, did you guys murder someone together? But also, I kind of don't respect the innocuous, hey, how are you? If it ended amicably and it's like, oh, look, it's Josh. Like, that's cool. But it doesn't sound like you have anything to gain from this person. And it is a little beta and weird to not even be like, hey, you were on my mind, or not even the like, hey, I had a dream about you line.
Hey, what's up?
That's him doing the least.
How are you these days?
That guy's doing the least, and you're writing into a podcast about it. So for that energy alone, for those reasons, I'm out. Hey.
Don't reply, block him, leave him in that unread messages folder. Who cares?
The fact that you blocked him and he was like, I'll just step over this red tape. I don't like it. It's weird. And it doesn't mean he's bad. It's just if he can't
say nothing.
He can't take the hint, and that's weird too. Now, granted, if I were blocked on Facebook, I wouldn't know because I don't check my own Facebook. I don't even check Facebook. But he just sounds like unaware. Ugh. Also,
I would prefer he messaged like a threat than just messaging like, hey, how's it going?
Like I always say, be about it.
I know, you did say also, be action-oriented about your racism.
Oriented, be super racist, but also like, oh, cool, we dated as teenagers. Oh, that's so cool that you found me. I bet we have so much in common now that our brains are fully formed. Who cares?
Hi, Iliza, Emily, Little Snow Peach, Rizzoli, and Isles. We can't leave them out. My husband and I recently bought a house, and every night in the middle of the night, I am woken up by a large dog barking into the night.
Oh, my God.
I am not 100% positive which neighbor it is, but I'm pretty sure it's the ones directly behind our house. I don't want to call the cops because I don't want to be that neighbor and cause drama, especially since we're new to the neighborhood, but it's ridiculous at this point. If we can hear it, they have to hear it too. Yeah. My husband heard the man outside the other day yelling and cussing at his kids, so the guy doesn't seem like someone we can casually ask to bring his dog inside, but I'm tired of getting woken up. Our 18-month-old sleeps with us and still breastfeeds, so I'm woken up enough by that, and I don't want our son being woken up by this dog either. Please, help. Thank you both for the pod. I listen to my long commute and all day at work. Don't have to be anonymous. I am sure they aren't cool enough to listen to this podcast. Hope from Northwest Arkansas.
Oh, man. Hope's like, I listen to this podcast while I'm up because the dog woke me up. Yeah. Sometimes we get questions on this podcast that give me so much anxiety, and I feel such a responsibility to fix it. And then I remember that it actually is not my problem, and I set it down for a second. Hope, I am so upset for you. And there is nothing worse than the neighbor who just doesn't get that other people live there. Can you call the cops without them knowing it's you? I don't know that cops in Northwest Arkansas are going to care. They're going to be like, yeah, dog's going to be a dog. He's doing what he's got to do. I would have your husband go over there and just talk to the guy, because you don't want to hear him like hit the dog or something, but just an awareness of like, we have a new baby and this dog wakes up our baby. Is there anything that we can do? Could you bring him in at night? I feel you, because I have a neighbor who has 2 dogs, and every single time we walk by, which is only twice a day with our dog, those dogs howl. And I'm like, do you not bring your dogs in? How is it possible that they're out when we walk by? Like, don't you have other people that are hearing these dogs? People just forget civility, and they forget how to exist around other people, especially in a neighbor situation. I bet you no one's ever said anything to him. So do it in a very nice way. God, I don't know what to do about that. I mean, is there a way to prove, Emily's going to tell you, like, is there a way to prove the dog's not being taken care of? Although I just can't imagine that. It feels rural, in rural Arkansas. Can you cut a hole in the fence and take the dog?
I was so happy. And when I lived in an apartment for so long where I had to hear everybody's sounds, everybody's dogs, everybody's TV.
You heard a guy kill himself, right?
In a place, I heard him try, and then the SWAT team had to come finish the job. And I heard the guy across from me who was a male prostitute sex worker.
Oh, give his number.
He got evicted. I don't think he's working
Oh,
anymore.
I'm sorry.
But he had a husky in a studio apartment in Burbank. So I don't know what was happening there. A husky and a mattress on the floor.
It's basically, they can basically speak. A husky's like, I'm not happy.
Right. But God, how maddening that you're in a home and you're having to deal with these neighbors' sounds.
Take a drive by and see, is that dog chained up? Like, is it something that does feel illegal versus just a dog that's outside? Can you get one of those high pitched? We have one for Tian food, like a thing that emits a high pitched sound. I wonder if it would reach, if you're close enough that you could press it and get the dog to stop. I wonder if they have them like industrial strength for bigger dogs.
I do just want, here's where I'm torn. I know that the good neighbor thing is you talk to them first before calling the police. The problem with that is that if you talk to them first and they're a dick and then you call the police, they know that you're the one who called the police because you're the one who talked to them.
Drive over, see what it looks like. Also, are you friends with the other neighbors? Can you get a consensus? That way you guys can all be like, we collectively have done this.
Yeah, this is maybe the only time that an HOA is a good thing.
I'm sorry. Best of luck, Hope.
Sorry. Ugh. We're so upset by this one.
I hate that. I fucking hate neighbors that
I
don't pay attention.
just feel so out of control on that one. All right. To move or not to move. Hi, AIA gang. Longtime listener, and Wednesday mornings are my favorite because I know a new episode is out.
Hot and fresh. We never fail.
I need some big sister advice. I'm 32, female, single, and have an incredible job opportunity, but I'm nervous about making the jump. I currently live in Vancouver, Washington, and grew up here.
Oh, sorry. Wrong side.
Sorry, not Canada.
So sorry.
I am very close with my family who also lives here, have amazing friends, genuinely love my job. I'm honestly really happy. This new position is with the same company and a significant pay raise. What has made me think twice is that taking this position will require me to relocate to Reno, Nevada. The new position has more growth potential, and even though I enjoy my current job, the pay is just okay. Enough for me to rent an apartment, have a good life, but not enough for me to really get ahead financially. I know money isn't everything, but a 30% pay increase is enough for me to seriously consider. My aunt, who is very high up in the same company I work for, was transferred to Reno last summer. She is who told me about the opening and recommended me.
What's up with this Reno? Is that where their headquarters are?
That's where.
Get that cat. Yeah. Get him out of here.
My family
ignore me. Just give him kisses.
We're just kissing. My family is supportive of me moving, but I can't help feeling sad I'll be leaving everyone. My question for you is, am I crazy for considering this? Part of me thinks I'm happy. Why would I leave? The other part thinks I would regret not giving it a shot and seeing what can happen. I can really get ahead financially, continue to grow professionally, but I'm afraid I'll be lonely and miss out with my family. I have a niece and nephew who are 3 and 6, and elderly grandparents who I know don't have forever. I would really love your input and think you will tell me to take a chance, but hearing it come from someone else is helpful. Also, I already bought tickets to see you at the Arlene Schnitzer Hall in Vancouver in November, which I absolutely will be back for. So,
okay, well,
on the plus side, I can also see if you're coming near Reno.
You're going to be disappointed.
Feel free to use my name, Kristen.
Kristen, when you realize the Arlene Schnitzer is in Portland, Oregon.
Is that near Vancouver, Washington?
Maybe, probably, but it's not in Vancouver.
You
Kristen,
need to do some figuring out, Kristen.
Kristen, you got to get yourself right with God. I don't know your goals in this life, because if you were like, look, my family's everything, I really love crocheting, whatever, but having financial stability and financial options will open up your life in a very special way, and especially at 32, where you're in your like peak earning years. I don't know how old your grandparents are, but hopefully they're not so old that they won't be around a few Christmases from now. The good news about absence makes the heart grow fonder is that it does, and it makes those holidays all the more special. I think it's wonderful that you're so family oriented. You seem normal. You didn't sound like you had any hate speech in this little letter to me. So you will make new friends. You have your aunt there, and you have the company. And I think it's a good exercise in seeing what you're made of. To take this leap, you can always move home. You can always probably get a job with that company and get another job. And I think it's easy to say, like, I'm financially stable and these things aren't that important to me. And then you get a taste of that sweet, sweet 30% pay increase. And you're sipping on crab and you're ordering double lemon drops at happy hours.
Reno's probably not the most high cost of living city, but that is a consideration. That versus Vancouver, Washington. But
Vancouver, Washington is a pretty low cost of living city, as is most of Washington.
You can move back at any time. I went to LA for 9 years and then I came back here. I came back to Georgia to
You can always,
die.
I know they say you can never go home, but you really can. You can always go back.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it will make it that much more special. And it is good. It's great that you have good friends. You'll make new friends. These things will all be okay. I think it's exciting. I think Reno is secretly a great town. I love playing there at the Silver Legacy Casino. They've got a cute downtown. They've got like an art scene. And it's high desert, so it gets hot, but it's pretty nice for a large part of the year. Not that the Reno Tourism Board asked me to say that. I say take the leap because you're running towards something good. This isn't like you're like, and I don't know what I'll have when I get there. I'm going with my boyfriend, which I never recommend. You're doing this for you. Only good things can come from this because you're already in the company. You already know you'll like it. You already know you'll have more money and you can always go home. That's a pretty easy flight. And I think you'll discover a whole new part of yourself. And I think if you don't do it, while you will be fine, you'll always be wondering. And you have the opportunity right now. You have no kids. You're not tied to anything. And you have this job. I would take it if for nothing other than the adventure.
Yeah. Put some money away. Live like you're living now. Put that 30% away.
Yeah. And then maybe, in our economy, you can afford to take a month off one day in the future.
Right. Should I return my ex-husband's grandmother's ring?
How long were you married for?
Hi, AIA crew. Iliza, congratulations on your new special. My boyfriend and I saw you in Columbus in September, and we had such a great time. I don't know what to do with this ring, so I thought you and Emily would be the perfect people to help. My ex-husband and I got married in November 2009 when I was 22 and he was 24. We got divorced in March 2012. I filed when I realized we just were not right for each other, and also we were so young. We've remained friendly over the last 13 years. We still see each other occasionally because his best friend and my sister started dating shortly after our wedding and have been together for 15 years and have 2 kids. Good for them. In 2022, I moved from Arizona to New York and kept many of my belongings in storage. As I was unpacking after moving in with my boyfriend this past fall, I found a ring that my ex-husband's grandmother gave me shortly after we got engaged. It wasn't my engagement ring. However, It is a Mikimoto pearl and diamond ring that her husband had bought for her while serving overseas. I never met his grandmother and honestly hadn't thought much about the ring until coming across it. I feel a little strange keeping it since his grandmother passed away a few years ago and we were only married for 2 years. I'm unsure if it would be appropriate to return it to my ex-husband after all this time. He never mentioned it or asked for it, so I'm not even sure if he remembers his grandmother giving it to me. My initial thought was that he could give it to one of his sisters, as I doubt he would want to give it to his new wife. It's too valuable to mail, so if I were to return it, I'll bring it with me when I visit my family in May and ask my sister and brother-in-law to give it to him next time they see each other. Thank you as always for your insight, Mel.
You can mail that. You can get it insured and you can mail it and it's going to be just fine. Do you like the ring? Sounds like you don't really like the ring. Given the fact that you are friends, I do not think it's weird to be like, hey, just keeping everything above board. I found this. I'd love to give it back to you because I think you could either give it to one of your sisters and he has the right
or
then.
Child.
Yeah, that's the right thing to do. Just give him the option if it doesn't mean anything to you.
Yeah.
That's it.
I don't get the feeling at all from this question that you're using it as an excuse to get back in his life. So I think it's totally appropriate. And it's a nice thing to do because he might have forgotten it, but he might still go, wow, like it might have a nice memory attached when he sees it, when he hears about it.
He'll be like, no, it's okay. You can keep it. I don't really care. Like whatever. And she gave it away. So do it that way. You can feel good about keeping it and you can feel good about giving it away. And you also can. People mail valuable things all the time and they're just fine. So either way. Yeah, that was simple.
I know. I wanted us to have a nice one.
Just because a guy is unaware about some obscure ring that a grandma gifted, it's also weird that he didn't know the grandma gave that to you. That's strange. Whatever. I mean, as long as he doesn't take it as a sign that you're like reaching out, like as long as it can be totally normal. Sounds like you guys tried it, didn't work. As long as there's no strings attached. But it might be good in terms of just moving on to be like, do you want this? Especially if you don't really seem to care because you don't.
Yeah,
You're not
I think it's nice.
Be shitty if you sold it. That's would be shitty.
Yes, but I also do love like, look, your marriage didn't work out, but you brought together another couple that's been together for 15 years. That's cool. Yeah, I like that. Yeah. When can I date without being a sad sack? Hi, Pod fam. Please keep me as Jay for this email. I'm about to turn 29 and I've had a really rough last 3 years. Both pets I had throughout my early adulthood sadly passed in 2024. I feel like they were a huge part of my personality and everyday life, but now I'm 5 months out from having my sweet 13-year-old dog pass, and I'm trying to regain a semblance of a life. I pet sit part-time while also working in a makeup store. Rhymes with Lephora.
I don't know.
But I now have more free time than ever. I've had my life uprooted twice, lived in 3 different cities in the last couple of years, so I purposely have not been dating. I've been trying to make friends, but I live in a very isolating place. For reference,
Isolating or
I live in
isolated?
Montana.
Isolated
It
or
says
isolating?
It says isolating, Montana.
It's isolating and isolated. Okay.
It's been hard to make connections. It seems like most people are happy with their college friends and aren't looking to make new ones. I'm lonely and have considered downloading the apps for the 10th time to try and meet people, but I run into men who just see me as an object, not a person. I prefer dating women / non-binary persons, but the pool is pretty limited. I have goals of eventually opening a third space for other queer people to hang out that's not centered around drinking, but that's a few years away from being a reality. Here is my biggest fear. I don't want to only have horribly sad things to share about my life. Things are looking up, but I very much still feel like a work in progress. Should I even try to date? Should I create a club instead? I just don't want to be the sad sack with my, quote, friends are dead vibe. Help, Jay. Now, I can't tell if Jay's friends are actually dead or they're still talking about their pets. I think their friends are actually dead and they've just had a hard time and also their pets are dead.
It's all about the narrative that you create. Because you could also spin this as I've persevered, I've moved several times, I've always been able to make a life for myself. Your pets are going to die, okay? Now, your pets have died at a weird transition time in your life. 5 months out, it's still pretty raw, but you would be within your spiritual rights to get a new pet if you needed it. It sounds like you're putting a lot on yourself, Jay. I don't know where you live in Montana. I don't know if you live in one of the bigger cities, but I also know that if you put it out there, you will find it. Meaning, if you want to meet more queer people, maybe you do have to trek to some of the bigger cities there and kind of do some work online. But this thing where people are like, I shouldn't date now, don't set these rules for yourself. You didn't do anything wrong. Things happened to you. Why do you have to karmically pay for that? Be open.
Yeah.
Be open to it. And yeah, these are small towns. People do like who they had in college, but you got to get out there. And maybe in creating that space for other people, you will create the community that you want. But your story, there are 1,000 ways to tell the story of your life. And I think about this all the time when I think about my struggles and my story. And I'm like, we don't have to tell it like it's a struggle. You can also tell it like I've persevered and I've accomplished this, this, and this. And here's what I'm going to do. Here's what my goals are. And so if you sell yourself as someone who's like, all my friends are dead, my pets died, that's the reason you're having trouble making friends. Because that's what you're leading with is your sadness. And in a lesbian relationship, that could be very attractive. But I'm just saying, put your best foot forward. This also is the advice we gave to our bigger friend. What's the image that you want to put out there? And what's the energy that you want to attract?
We should start a kid show, Godzilla and Sad Sack.
Also, working at a Sephora is not the most social job. Maybe try to find a job. Could you get a job at a bar? Could you get a job at a restaurant? Something that's more like community-based versus
So
people.
this person clearly does. They want to create a third space that doesn't involve drinking.
Okay,
that
so
doesn't
not a bar.
involve
Sorry.
drinking.
Then
so
a
not
coffee
bar.
shop. Can you get a job at a coffee shop? Can you get a job? It's something in the community that has like more regulars versus 10-year-olds you're like swatting away. A Sephora is probably in like a commercial shopping center. There's not the same people coming in. You don't really get a chance to know anyone. And pet sitting is fine, but that's kind of based on your relationship with the pet and not the person. You've kind of set up your life in a way that it is hard to make these connections. So that's fine if you want to keep those jobs, but maybe you can branch out in terms of your extracurriculars. Is there a kickball league you can join? You have to have some friends. Tell your friends you're hurting and be like, I want to do more stuff. Put it out there. But quit selling this narrative that like all my friends are dead and I'm not dating. Like that the universe doesn't reward that. Look at that dandy cat. This is great for a podcast, Emily. It's great.
I'm making the cat dance.
Mm-hmm.
No one can see, but one day they will. Top of the cob.
It's the top of the cob. You're doing it right every day. You just take a bite, top of the cob.
I'm going to read a bottom from our question asker, Jay, because
Yes.
it made me laugh. About
Read her
Lephora.
bottom.
When people come into the store, Lafora,
Why can't we just say Sephora? What is the big deal? They're not a sponsor. We don't have another
they're
makeup.
coming for us.
Who cares?
When people come in the store and we don't have something in stock, but the customer acts like you're keeping the product from them. Ugh, girl, if I had it, I'd sell it to you. WTF.
I don't know. Sometimes I've been like, is it out? And then because I've worked in a mall, I've been like, can you check the bottom drawer? And they're like, oh yeah, I guess I could.
Well, let's assume Jay is good at their job. My bottom is having to explain to people where my house is. Like 80% of the time, maps gets you there. But when I'm getting deliveries and stuff, 20% of the time, they just wind up at a different house confused. And you feel like a dick being like, turn down. I live on X Street, so turn down X Street. My house is on X Street, which is the address I've given you. Don't go to a different street.
Don't go to a different street.
You're trying to explain. You feel like a jerk. It's like you don't know directions.
That was how I felt when ADT couldn't find my house when my stalker had showed up. And you just had to stare out the window and watch them pass by. And I was like,
that house where like even like every time something needed to go there, it would be I'd be outside walking the streets looking for. Are you trying to deliver this? Yeah, come follow me. And I'm just like waving my arms like, let's go this way, leading a parade of cars.
That's what happens when you don't live on a federally recognized street.
Lived on a.
But it was worth it because that house was dope. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Top of the cob.
Go ahead. You and the fan, and then I'll do both of mine.
Oh, okay. Me is had a busy weekend, been busy lately, had a lot going on. This weekend I'm finally gonna get to just sit there and do nothing, and I am excited for that.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
Isn't that a good feeling when you just know like I don't have to do anything that day?
No, I actually hate that feeling. But carving out little moments.
Yeah, we're opposites.
Okay.
Fan top, yo-yo. I was sitting in my midterm and someone walked in and held up some keys asking the professor if they belonged to anyone. Confused, I expressed they were mine with gratitude, of course. Never have I ever experienced someone returning something to me before even realizing it was lost.
Oh.
I'm so scattered. Normally when I lose something, I kiss it goodbye forever. So this pit of a week just became a peak. Y'all are bee's knees. Go team. Fan and fellow comedian Brigitte. I feel like it's Brigitte, not Bridget. Diane. P.S. All the best to your dad, Emily, and Iliza. Congrats on kiddo too. Iliza, how long are you going to be accepting congratulations on Ethan? He's been here a while.
It's enough, Ethan. Done. Brigitte has a way with words. She's like, not a pit, not a peak, not squeak, squeak, squeak. Zibbity bap. I'm Brigitte.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I had that happen on the plane. I was walking off with all of our bags and Sierra, and I heard a clunk, and I was like, oh, she dropped something. And then she goes, here, mommy. And she handed me my phone.
Good work, Sierra.
It fell out of my cargo pants.
It wasn't like her sippy cup that you were just going to leave behind.
And I was just like, oh my God. Because once you get off that plane, they make it impossible. They're like, there's no way. The cleaning crew's already taken it away. There's no way. Okay, my top and bottom. It was a very long weekend. We had 4 shows. It was great. It's a lot of travel. And I love bringing Sierra, and obviously adding a child to a mix compounds everything and makes you a little bit more tired than you would be. And the flight home, I didn't really get to sleep. And the day before, I'm just tired. And I've just been dealing with and doing a lot. And I had to be up this morning to go on a podcast. And I knew and Noah left this morning, so I was up
What podcast did you do today? Can you say?
I did the Vial Files.
Oh, that was today. Okay.
That was today. So that'll be out Thursday, so the day after this podcast comes out. And I was up at 4:45 this morning because I heard Noah leaving. And then at 6:30, this little person was in my room asking me if it was time to get up. And I was like, sit back down. And so I was just tired, and it's not even about the feeling of being tired. It's the way that it looks on your face, and your eyes get small, and I get these like dents all around my eyes. And so I guess my bottom of the cob is the fact that everybody always wants to see your face. Like you're doing a show and they're like, hey, the promoter asked for a video. And it's like, especially, it's not even like I'm the kind of person that always has to be in full hair and makeup, but like most of the time, like it just looks I look kind of tired and I've got sunscreen on, and it's just this constant ask. And especially now that podcasts have become a visual medium, as I sit here recording my own, just this constant ask, what was an auditory experience? Now everything is your face. And as a woman, you get judged on these things. And I don't want to look ugly or tired. And I do care. I don't care enough to pay for full hair and makeup every time. And I get that this is a part of being in the public eye, but this demand that it always be your face, even if it is audio, they're like, well, we just want to see your face. For radio, they record it so they can put it on their like radio podcast. And it's just a lot. It's just a lot. It costs a lot of money to do hair and makeup. And then the amount of time you have to put in just to look normal. Like right now, I look fine. But this like I had to blow dry my hair, straighten it. I had to do the makeup. Like I kind of resent it because you don't want it to be like, oh my God, what happened to her? You're like, what happened is that I was tired this morning. So I guess my bottom of the cob is that it's always like, and can we see the face? Can we see even though we can hear your voice and know who you are, can we see the face at all times? Yeah. You're going to look old and tired and we're just going to judge that. Can we see your face so we can see how ugly you look? Because that's what's behind it. Let's see your face so we can see how ugly you look. So my top of the cob was that this morning I got up early, and this isn't against, I mean, that podcast was lovely. This is just podcasts in general, my own included, where we're doing an episode and I've got to go like put on concealer so no one knows that I have normal skin. But my top of the cob was this morning, I took a little bit of time and I mixed caffeine eye cream, brightening eye cream, oil. I did gua sha. Took
you could have made a bomb.
10 full minutes, like a Molotov cocktail, to like really work my eye area with this pick that my friend Anna Ui gave me, the Chinese facialist that I saw in London that like rearranged my face. And I really worked on it. And while it didn't take like 15 years off, it did help. And so it was good to know. And then I put ice all over my face. It was good to know that if I can set the time aside, like there is a way to sort of hack looking a little bit younger. So I appreciated that it worked versus the bulk of the products and things that we do where it's like, yeah, I guess it promotes the look of collagen. So my top of the cob was that I was actually able to open up my eyes a little bit this morning.
Good work.
Whatever. I don't know why I tell you anything.
I'm listening.
No, you weren't. I'm just saying, if you are able to carve out the time, which we rarely are, there are things that you can do to mitigate it. Lymphatic drainage, I'm a big believer in that. If you're listening today, this is the 9th. That means if you are Jewish, Passover's this weekend. I was recently asked in an interview what my plans were for Passover, and the honest answer is I forgot. But Ziz and Pesach to all of you. And if you're Christian, you probably know the story of Passover as well. It's a dope holiday filled with deep, mystical meanings and symbolism. So I suggest you look into it. I will not be celebrating again because we will be on vacation. And I feel like I've done a lot as a Jew this year, and I'm gonna set it down for the weekend.
You've done your Judy.
I really have done my Judy, and we keep those coffee posts coming. We're gonna be getting the video of these episodes up soon, as well as the YouTube live episodes. Ask Iliza Live, I guess we can call it that. Ask Iliza Anything Live. We got to figure out the branding. Those will be up, and I won't say imminently because Emily snapped at me last time. And then that next week, I'm coming to see you in Melbourne, and Sydney, and Brisbane, and New Zealand, in Auckland, Aotearoa. So get your tickets. I'll see you soon. Hit me up with any dope. If you are a verified account of a coffee place in any of these places, hit me up. I will be doing some videos at coffee places. It's my new endeavor. More on that later. And you know what I realized also listening to the last episode? I often will throw to you. I'll be like, and it's like Emily always says. And then I always get mad at you because your answers are always bad. But then I realize like you're not an improviser. And it's like I'm asking you to do something that like is not exactly in your wheelhouse. And I get mad at you. But I forget not everyone is a comedian. So I'm sorry that I throw it to you and then you say something awful.
At least I don't just start crying. Like the pressure is too much. I can't do it.
That would be awesome. That's your video. That's what you want video for.